There's a scene at the start of the Netflix show Afterlife where Ricky Gervais' character, Tony, is about to take his own life, having lost his wife to cancer. Suddenly, we see his dog, Brandy. She's barking anxiously to try and get his attention. It works, and Tony suddenly realises that he needs to stop what he's doing, turn around and take care of her. I compare myself to Brandy. I'm standing here shouting my story out loud for those who need to hear it and turn around. I'm not a doctor, a therapist, or a policymaker. I'm a mum. I'm a widow. I'm a person dedicated to ensuring that people understand the depths of the pain and consider what suicide means to those impacted by it. Now, you might be asking yourself why I do this. On the 12th of November 2018, the police came to my front door to tell me that my husband, Steve, had died. And they said 15 words that I will never forget. They said, "We found him. He's not alive, and it's clear he's done it to himself." There were no warnings, no signs, no notes left behind. That day had started off like a very normal one. Steve had been heading out to work. Evie and Ada, our daughters, were 9 and 2. They were getting ready for school and nursery. And as Steve left, he'd confirmed that he'd collect Evie from Cubs on his way home that night, as he always did on a Monday. It was the last time that I ever saw him. In that moment that the police came to my door, my whole world changed from this neat and tidy square shape where we filled the 4 chairs around the table and the 4 seats in the car to a really wonky and unfamiliar triangle shape. Now, I describe this unique kind of loss as a bit like grief with a microphone. When it comes to suicide, everything is amplified. It's louder, sharper, deafening at times. I was unable to accept what had happened. I battled deep feelings of resentment and anger towards the situation and to Steve, and my ability to trust people was gone. We'd been together for 18 years, and I couldn't believe he hadn't told me that he was feeling this way. Those first few years without him were unbelievably challenging, particularly with a global pandemic thrown in to test me on top of everything else. As time passed, though, I finally began to adjust to my new life as a knackered double parent. I'd been given no choice. I started to see a therapist who said the most profound thing to me in our very first session. Kirsty recognised how much I was struggling and how hopeless I felt. And she said to me, "I will carry hope for you until you're ready to carry it for yourself." Now, that was a real turning point for me, hearing those words. I slowly began to accept the loss and heartbreak that we carried with us every day. And I started to reshape our lives around this really tragic experience to form a very different kind of future for me and my girls, where hope could absolutely play a part. I started to write a new story, a story I call Daddy Blackbird, to help others understand what life is like when the unthinkable happens, and to bring some degree of relatability to those who find themselves in a similar position. I called it Daddy Blackbird because of the little chap that would visit our back garden every single day, that became a symbol to me and a kind of comfort that made us feel like Steve was still there somewhere. Now today, granted new perspective by the passage of time, I've broadened my thinking further, and I've looked at how our tiny trio, my small family, fits into the bigger picture to fully embrace the power of three, drawing strength from three areas of my life, what I call my triangle of recovery. The power of me is all about digging deep to rediscover the strength I had in myself and to build on what I already knew, to develop new skills and qualities that I needed for this new shape. I focused on things like writing, reading, learning new stuff, cutting out booze, eating more healthily, taking on therapy, working out and walking every day for my own state of mind. The power of my community was about embracing the right people, learning from others and being part of something bigger, brighter and stronger. I connected with individuals locally and all around the world who are doing amazing things in this space to tackle suicide and the stigma that exists around it. And I've made some great friends as a result. And I've learnt one very important lesson that us humans are not very good at. And sometimes we do need to ask for help. The power of my children is the third part of that triangle of recovery. And that was all about acknowledging and celebrating the resilience and tenacity and courage that my girls were showing to the world. I watched my older daughter Evie as she struggled at school to listen to upsetting language around suicide and horrible jokes that she would hear. She went on to write a story about how that made her feel, and then to create an animation that's now shared in schools, charities and workplaces about the importance of having greater consideration around the way that we communicate on this topic. She's now a multi-award winner for the work that she's doing in this space, and I'm incredibly proud of her. And at just 9 years old, I've proudly seen my younger daughter, Ada, turning into a kind, strong, and emotionally intelligent young person too. I recall her reflecting at a very young age and saying to me, "Mummy, men don't grieve, men don't cry. They should, because otherwise they live shorter. They need to let the emotion out so they don't die." Now, I recognise that this will always be an uphill struggle for my girls whose lives were infiltrated by suicide when they were so little. And it will always be tough for me too. We will continue to shape our story wherever we can though, because it's become a really important part of our healing journey. And we're always told that by being so open and honest, we might just save a life one day. And on that note, I want to leave you with a message that I recently received from a chap who heard me speak, because he sums up the power of sharing stories perfectly. He said to me, "Having you explain what you and your family have been through and are still going through really makes people open their eyes to the immensely sad reality of suicide. People like you and your daughters who are strong enough to tell the world your story are the reason I'm still here and give me strength to be open about my own struggles." And I believe that's really powerful stuff. Thank you for listening to me.